The draft is coming up. I think Shedeur Sanders is probably the only interesting part of this draft for me.
Yeah, I think by this point, consensus says that we have Cam Ward out of Miami going first to the Titans. We have the Browns, I think, are picking second, and I haven't seen anything linked saying that they're taking a quarterback. And then sort of third is the Giants, and that's kind of where the Shedeur links have kind of been previously. But I think since we've last recorded, the Giants have signed both Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson. So that's a fun quarterback room. Are you going to add Shedeur to that?
Who knows? I don't know.
After that, there's not too many teams that need a quarterback until we get to number 9. Kirby, who's picking 9?
The Saints are picking 9. I think I want to dive in. If we dive into the Saints right now, we're never going to get back. So I think the draft generally is kind of just like, especially with Shedeur Sanders, it's just overblown tomfoolery, over analysis. These guys are acting like these mock draft people will argue who goes number 1 in like last year's like Caleb Williams. Mm-hmm. He was definitely going number 1, and they would argue until like they were out of breath and his name had been already called. And so like now that Shedeur's out here and no one really knows what's gonna happen, it's absolutely miserable.
And yeah, Shedeur, by the way, in case anyone doesn't know, son of Hall of Famer Deion Sanders.
That is very important.
Who was his coach at Colorado and also his coach at Jacksonville State, where he had transferred from.
Jackson State.
I've heard it said, there's helicopter parents, but Deion, he's a snowplow parent, where he's just pushing it, straight forward the path for Shedeur. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic too, where Shedeur's he's going to be coached by not his dad for like the first time in his life.
It's a sketchy. I mean, it's not a sketchy situation. It's like, definitely finicky, and the Giants are making it all worse.
You have to. There's like a certain not circus. Like circus gives a bad connotation, but like you're gonna have more eyes on you. If you, So in terms of what people use the circus,
a spectacle. It's a spectacle.
Yeah, whoever takes them is gonna have the spectacle, kind of like LeVar Ball and the Ball family. But
that was fun.
Deion,
but it's less fun.
Actually,
it's more serious because Deion's like, I'm gonna kill you, but it's like he won't say that. Like it's like LeVar Ball, the dad, said, "I'm gonna kill you,"
because he's just
Deion,
a dad.
Everyone thinks that's what he's saying, but he's not saying anything because he's a calculated man that like is a reasonable person. But I think like the real problem here, bottom line, is the Giants. The worst team franchise right now to be having to make a difficult decision. Just their track record in the past is just absolutely abominable for making good decisions as a unit. And so in the past week or so, the Giants have flown out to Colorado twice to look at Shedeur. And this is in addition to his pro day, in addition to the combine. And news is that they're pretty split inside the building on what to do. And if you're split on the first pick of the NFL draft, it's not a good look. But
also after signing 2 veteran quarterbacks,
it's so like that's what I'm saying. They just have a problem.
It's like last year where the Falcons signed Kirk to this massive deal and then take Michael Penix Jr. at 8. It's like, okay, if you were going to do that, why did you give Kirk all this money? And now it's kind of the same thing with the Giants if they do take him.
I think that similarity is more akin to if they were to take Abdul Carter, because they already have. So Abdul Carter is the defensive lineman out of Penn State. If you know Micah Parsons, he's pretty much like that, if not better. We'll find out. Micah Parsons, the one that talks a lot and shouldn't. Kind of like a younger Draymond Green.
Come on the podcast, Micah.
Exactly. But the Giants already have a stacked D-line. So sure, they could add to it. But in the next 2 years, they're going to have to pay a shit ton of money to at least 2 other people in that line. And then 5 years from now, they're going to have to pay Abdul Carter, if that works out. And it's like, they aren't paying Russ and Jamie's like too much. So it's probably less of a problem. But if you're going to have, it's just weird to have an okay backup in Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson, who is a starter, and honestly, I'm going to be a Russell fan until the end. He can always pull it, who knows? But no, it's just what the Giants are doing. It really reminds me of like the cornucopia in the Hunger Games at this point. Like Giants GM is just like Joe Schoen is the guy who runs immediately to get all the stuff and then gets blown up or killed because he's like too greedy. And so he's either going to have 3 quarterbacks that are all like could be starters on a pretty cheap deal, which is fine, but also like why? Or he's going to have an incredible defensive line, which is going to come to bite him in a very, like, he is Sexy Dexy. Like, if you have a guy named Sexy Dexy who's on your defensive line and is pretty good, like, why are you, I have these dreams a lot. Like, say I'm at a buffet in my dream. And it's like, I have a plate of food, and then I put more food on it, and then the food falls off. And then I go to get more, and I have this plan in my head, but there's really not a plan. And it just keeps piling everywhere. And then I'm there for like 30 minutes in my dream and I haven't even eaten or gone back to the table because I'm just like, can't figure out how to put food, like, like just take what I have. And, it's all a game, this draft process. And that takes us to the Saints, who are only playing games for the past 10 years. The Saints, as Sam was saying, gonna take rumored to take Shedeur at 9. But they haven't even reached out to him. I don't even think they went to his pro day.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
And now the Saints have a brand new problem, of course, with their already problem that they created when they signed Derek Carr. But you want to just go over that for me, Sam, so I don't have to scream?
Yeah. So Saints are kind of, they don't believe in cap space, and they max out their cap space kind of to making it real. And anyway, Derek Carr, a big portion of their cap space has gone to Derek Carr, and he is likely out for the season with a shoulder injury. But if the Saints cut him before June 2nd, 2026, that would be $69.2 million cap hit, meaning that is money they cannot
spend,
go anywhere else. That's going to Derek.
I think June 3rd, 2026, if they cut him, will be the best birthday present I could possibly have. Derek Carr's gone out of my life. I don't care where he goes. No one's going to trade for him. All of a sudden, he's like being a prima donna. Like, my shoulder's hurt. I mean, my shoulder's probably hurt. But It's like, bruh, like, figure it out. I don't get these, like, these clauses and these contracts. Because who wrote that? That's Mickey Loomis's fault. That's Mickey Loomis's fault that you're going to have $69.2 million cap hit if this guy who is like basically unproven coming from the Raiders, which suck, coming down in New Orleans, and that's the contract you had him sign. What are we doing? Generally, what are we doing? It doesn't, I can't. I really, Derek Carr has always been a problem. He's now a new problem. But I think ever since Drew Brees left, which, bless your heart, I really appreciate the time you put in, Drew. You saved, you were there when we needed you. Got us a Super Bowl. And then you left. And, we all move on. Some people who haven't moved on is Aaron Rodgers, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But I think the thing for me, Sam, which I know a couple weeks ago, I was getting quite violent in my language about the Saints not picking Shedeur Sanders. But I think I've taken a complete 180 on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I realized the next draft class, next year, is going to be potentially Arch Manning. He could have one more year, but he will be eligible to opt in to the 2026 draft. And then we have Garrett Nussmeier, who is currently LSU's quarterback, and you know how the Saints just love to pick him out of LSU. And his dad actually is going to be the the offensive coordinator at the Saints. So I could see that working out, that being a long-term plan. And then Carson Beck and Drew Aller, which doesn't really fit with the Sam and Kirby how we draft things. They got some personalities. I just don't like Drew Aller's hair. And Carson Beck, he made let's just say he arrived in Miami and really embraced it. So can't knock him, but you're maybe not going number 1 to the Saints when we absolutely bomb this year and we don't even try. But Aaron Rodgers, I was thinking this morning, you know how it's like Voldemort and like people didn't want to like say Donald Trump's name and like only wanted to call him 45. Like I'm about done saying Aaron Rodgers' name. Like he is the person that will not be named. What a turnaround from his days and at the Packers to where we are now.
Yeah, it's crazy. Apparently Aaron Rodgers flew across the country to meet with the New York Jets new coach Aaron Glenn, where they asked if he still wanted to play. He said yes, and they said they're going to go another option, which is wild to fly out across the country
on his dime.
Barring, he's got a lot of dimes, but barring, I think we're getting all this from Aaron Rodgers. So there's you gotta factor that into. He was revealing this on his Aaron Rodgers special hour on the Pat McAfee show, and it's kind of been ever since then. It's really been Aaron Rodgers being linked with the Steelers. There's been some rumors of, the Giants before they signed Russell Wilson and Jameis, and also the Vikings. But I think he said that there isn't really anything there. So it's just kind of like the Steelers. The Steelers don't have any other quarterbacks besides the one guy, Mason Rudolph. I think he came back.
Good name.
Mason Rudolph.
I don't know. That seems like a sweet guy name.
Yeah.
But he was like notably bad for the Steelers, so odd one to bring back. But Aaron Rodgers, that's the Steelers' problem. The Steelers' problem is Aaron Rodgers. And so why would you bring in a problem to your organization and pay him $10 million, which is apparently his number that he's requesting? He has been linked with the Steelers for approximately like 1,000 and refuses to make a decision, even though it's the Steelers. And so it makes you question if the Steelers are still the Steelers. Because what I would come to understand as the Steelers is they wouldn't be messing around with this pussyfooting by Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, quote, well, this is not a quote, but Aaron Rodgers says he's busy. He can't be making it to football practice. Why would you want a guy in Steelers hard-nosed football not even wanting to come to practice? Because this is the quote. From the jump, I'm in a different phase in my life. I'm 41, and I'm in a serious relationship. I have off-field stuff going on that requires my attention. Well, good for doodly you, Like, we all have shit to deal with, but if you're going to play professional football for $10 million... go ahead and put that to the side. I just don't understand how he thinks he's so above everything and like the dude has sucked for 2 years. Like truly, who do you think you are?
Yeah, I mean, last offseason he wasn't at training camp because he was off in like Egypt filming the Netflix documentary. So honestly, I want it to happen just to see kind of everything that Kirby said, how that clashes with Mike Tomlin and the Steelers culture. Like even players are like, all right, man, like, do you want to be here or not? Like, because we're the Steelers, so you're either with us or you're not. It's like he said, another quote, I'm open to anything and attached to nothing.
That sounds like when those couples, you remember The Ultimatum?
No.
That show on Netflix where these couples go and one wants to get married and the other one doesn't.
I think I missed that one.
It's excellent. There's also The Queer Ultimatum. But these couples go because one wants to get married and one doesn't, and they do this little experiment where they like date other couples in the same situation, and then they recouple with someone else, and then they live together for like 2 weeks, and then they go back to their original couple, and honestly twists and turns the entire way. But there's always one person that is like, look, I'm open to anything and attached to nothing. If Boo wants to get back with me, that's cool too. But I just want to come into this quote unquote experience and try everything that I could try because I don't want to let myself down if I didn't do it. That's Aaron Rodgers. He's on a Netflix love show.
I do love the Netflix love shows where everyone calls it, I came into this experiment, this experience, It's like, all right, man, like,
shut up. You're in the 8th
Just
season.
shut
It's
up.
not an experience. It's not an experiment anymore. We know what's going to happen. We have our hypothesis. You're probably going to be a fucker. And the girl's going to have her heart broken because men are creepy. Sorry, Sam. I mean, like this last year in that Charlotte dude who I was really rooting for, he had this crazy accent and these big eyes, and I was
Was it
really
Jimmy?
rooting for him. Yes!
On Love is Blind.
Fucking
I
Jimmy.
hated Jimmy from the start.
I was digging Jimmy, and then all of a sudden, because the girl was the one that was like real into it, and then Jimmy's like, I'm Jimmy.
That's a good impression, actually.
Thank you. Thank you. And he's like, but she was crazy because she was like, you can't hang out with your girlfriends who you've been friends with for 10 years. And Jimmy's like, I'm going to do that. And then somehow Jimmy doesn't know how to deal with his emotions and ends up leaving that girl. But hey,
spoilers. Get
Rogers,
dumped at,
he is basically
Carowinds.
on Netflix already. So what can
He
you
is
do?
on Netflix, literally.
Yeah. The Aaron Rodgers, like, love Aaron. I am super interested, but not to see who is in this serious relationship, because I bet it is like the Lord Almighty Jesus Christ. He has risen. Like, it's not a real relationship, you know?
Yeah.
Hey.
No, there's been interesting Aaron Rodgers relationships since I've been a fan. But yeah, and kind of tying it back. So the Steelers are also rumored to have a link with Shedeur at picking at 21. So
Yeah,
it's going to be an interesting draft coming up in a couple days. I think I saw Adam Schefter tweet that this is the closest it's been to the draft where there have been no first round picks traded yet. So surely something's going to have to get traded, Maybe it even waits until draft night, but someone's got to be doing some trading. Maybe it is for Shedeur, if some, falls past 4 or 3 even, maybe someone hops up and takes them. So we'll see.
we'll see.
We'll report back.